1. PTF and JK back with you for an amazing time of the year if you're a horse player. Triple Crown season is upon us. And did you know you can bet the Preakness before you bet the Kentucky Derby? That's right. We've got the Preakness Future Wager brought to you by our friends at First Racing. Big fans of First Racing and Maryland Racing in general. We really like to support this Preakness Future bet. PTF and JK back with you here to give some ideas on how we are going to approach this year's Preakness Future Wager. Closes at 6 o'clock on Saturday, Derby Day. JK, I know this is a pool you've messed around with in the past. We've been alive with theoretically great prices for horses that didn't win. This is the year we're going to hit it, I think.
Yeah, look, I think it's a great opportunity. I think future wagers as a whole, I like the idea of being able to place your opinion when you're ready to place your opinion, to place a wager on your opinion. And the future wager for the Preakness allows you to do that. I think the main areas of focus is which price can you get today that you won't be able to get on the Sunday morning after the Kentucky Derby or leading up to the Preakness. And so that's the way I've always looked at it is either trying to get some, cute horse on the undercard that's looking to point towards the Preakness, or going ahead and grabbing who you think might be the Derby winner, who's going to go off odds on Preakness Day, but you can go ahead and lock in a better price, 3, 4, 5, 6, even 10 to 1.
We've seen in the comments, we've had people take both approaches. And again, we've gotten a lot of theoretical value in the bank. We've had some people hit this nice, but that's all in the past. This is the present, and the time is now, my friend. Give me your idea on who you might be betting in this year's Preakness Future Wager.
Well, I think considering how wide open the Kentucky Derby is, if you like one of the top 3 or 4 horses, I think grabbing them now for the Preakness, you're going to get a pretty good price, significantly better than you'll get after they get the blanket of roses draped over their shoulders, right? So I think that's one thing. I think horses like Commandment, Further Ado, Renegade, even a Chief Wallaby.
Well, that's a controversial one, actually. We can stop and talk about for a minute after Bill Mott chose to skip the Derby last year with his Preakness winner. Maybe that's going to lead to a really big price. Maybe he'll change his mind this time around about this horse.
Yeah, because I think that the reason that Bill did that, I think if you read between the tea leaves or the tea lines or the lines of tea.
To mix a metaphor.
Right. when you read between something, I think you'll figure out that was more of an individual decision based on that horse. He's made different decisions with Chief Wallaby. He's a different horse. It's not that Bill's never run in the Preakness before, and I just think that it's a situation where some people might choose to fade him in this Preakness Future Wager based on last year's decision that might not apply to this year.
Right. You don't always want to be fighting the last war. Rarely do you want to be fighting the last war. In fact, okay, so is that your sort of opinion? Are you going to hold out on us and wait till the final answer show we're doing this week and then tell us your Preakness Future bet? Or do you have a horse that comes from a different school you might want to put forward as a potential bet?
Yeah, my plan is to continue to gather information throughout the week before I have to nail down to one horse. I mean, obviously, I'm going to have to pick one. In reality, I'm going to try to be alive to 3 or 4 of them in multi-race wagers, but I know that I have to have a Derby pick. I think Saturday morning of the Derby, when I wake up, this pool closes at 6 p.m. on Derby Day, May 2nd. I'll wake up, I'll figure out who it is I like, and then I'll get involved as something to look forward to in a couple of weeks to try to grab a little bit of a better price. There's nothing better than hitting a 6, 7, 8 to 1 shot on Derby Day. The only thing better than that is being alive for 15 to 1 going into the Preakness.
If I held your feet to the fire about one of the, and I love using this term because I know it makes some of our fellow horse racing people who work in the industry cringe. And my daughter loves it when I say the word cringe, by the way. But new shooter, that's the term I'm looking for. If I forced you to pick one of the new shooters, who would be of interest? The horses who are not running in the Derby but are targeting the Preakness and in this 40-horse betting interest that you can find.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think obviously you want to start with the horses that made the decision to skip the race, right? Horses like Iron Honor for Chad Brown. He's done this successfully before with horses like Early Voting and Cloud Computing. Other horses might be Chip Honcho for Steve Asmussen, making the decision to skip the Derby and go on to the Preakness. And then also, like we talked about, the winners of the Pat Day Mile often will find themselves in the starting gate. If I'm not mistaken, Lucas's horse, the gray horse,
Seize the Gray,
made that same move. So maybe a horse like Crude Velocity, I know a lot of people are pretty high on, is one that could be one of those quote new shooters. So, I think that the value of the new shooter probably isn't there as much, right? The Derby winner is going to take a lot of money. The Derby second or third horse is going to take a lot of money in the Preakness. Your new shooter, you'll probably get the price you want anyways. But obviously, if you wake up Saturday morning and that Preakness wager future pool is giving you a price that you think you won't get on the day, I definitely would jump on that.
And that's a good point about when the pool closes and the Pat Day Mile. That's earlier in the day. So let's say you're a Crude Velocity fan. You can watch what plays out on the track there under the Twin Spires and then decide, hey, is this horse the one that I want to bet in the Preakness? There's maybe a little bit of an angle there, an extra reason to pay attention to the pool.
And the other thing to keep in mind is that there's a very impressive winner of the Pat Day Mile. Then there's going to be a surge of money that comes onto that horse,
right,
which could help the price of other horses that are actually running in the Kentucky Derby.
And one more thought on this angle before I give you one other alternative is it's possible that the winner of the Pat Day Mile that's going to be so impressive in our theoretical scenario isn't already listed in those 40 interests. You can find those PPs basically wherever you get your PPs or on your local ADW as well. There is a category for all other 3-year-olds not in the individual betting interest. So that could be an angle there. You might be onto something with the Crude Velocity idea. I do want to mention the Stablemate, a horse that I know you've been a huge fan of to the point where I'm almost surprised he didn't come up already in this conversation. Cherokee Nation. He was so impressive in that big run two back, one of the fastest figures for a 3-year-old this year. Obviously did not run well in the Santa Anita Derby, but seems to be like in all his bad races, he has some sort of trip excuse. Feels like one who could get ignored in a pool like the Preakness Future Wager and maybe just puts it all together on the day.
Yeah, no, 100%. And he's one of those, if I'm not mistaken, I think National Treasure shares a similar profile
sure,
of running well, then running not great, missing the Derby, and then coming and winning the Preakness.
There you have it. There's several ideas on the Preakness Future Wager. You can get that bet on your local ADW. Find the PPs online. Thanks so much to our friends at First Racing for sponsoring this video. Make sure you subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel. Loads of